All possible human emotions are inner manifestations of our ego and should not be the focus of our actions. We should not focus on our anger or rage, lack of self-confidence or passivity. They are just the consequences of not following the truth. Also, we should not focus on our ego's external manifestations, that is, on our failures in relationships or business life. All deep traumas and fears manifest in our outer and inner worlds. We can certainly somewhat influence the very manifestation. Still, we will only comprehend changing experience if we follow the truth and get to the cause of itself, which is always one or more ego challenges driven by rational ego fears. Our manifestations, anger or problems at work, are only there to draw our attention to what is important, to the very fear behind these consequences. And we are angry because, for example, we are spoiled. And spoiledness and attachment from where it comes is our ego challenge, and the fear from independence from which it springs and which we must face, and not the anger and what it causes in business life. So, let's remove the cause, fear of independence, and the manifestations, anger and problems at work, will disappear by themselves. And by facing our ego challenges, we will mature and realize the state of love, joy, gratitude, and confidence. We will not have to think about them and practice them, because the state of love is already in us. It is natural to our soul. We just have to overcome the ego to realize it. Overcoming fear will manifest itself positively in all aspects of our life, such as health, work, or relationships. The solution how to overcome ego challenges and the fears that fuels them lies in our emotional intelligence. Our awareness, conscience, and courage, and their subordinate parameters such as assuming responsibility, motivation, empathy, self-control, faith, and love. As in everything, the first step to clarity is diagnosing or recognizing the manifestations of our ego. And for this, responsibility lies on our awareness and self-awareness. In the second step, it is necessary to pull these same ego manifestations through the filter of conscience, and through self-examination become aware of the motivation, that is, the ego challenge. It is up to our courage in the third step to take this path of truth and face and overcome the ego fears that are responsible for the very ego challenges. If, for example, we have become aware of our stubbornness, indecisiveness, or frustration and realize that this is only a manifestation of our ego, it is up to us to find the cause, that is, the motive, the ego challenge behind this manifestation, be it, for example, selfishness or doubt. If we dare to face the insecurities and fears behind our selfishness and doubt, we will surely be on a shortest path to realizing clarity as a reward. But what exactly is awareness? Awareness is the ability to objectively perceive the environment. I am aware that he is stubborn. And self-awareness is the ability to objectively perceive oneself. I'm aware that I am stubborn. It is the ability to see the real self, not an imaginary character or person as we present ourselves. And that is why it is important to harmonize our intimate thoughts and the way we behave. However, we know that in practice that is not always the case. That is why there is something called public and private self-awareness. For the most part, the way we all behave in public is the fruit of public self-awareness. From a certain moment in life, we begin to shape ourselves so that the image we show to the outside correspond as much as possible to society's expectations. When we are aware that we are being watched and evaluated, we try to behave in a socially acceptable way. In fact, we present our best behavior, we put on our mask, which does not necessarily reflect our true maturity, but we are forced to adapt to social norms and expectations. Or when, due to public self-awareness and our rationality, we know and advocate the importance of pluralism and teamwork. But in reality, our state of maturity, rather immaturity, is that we trust only ourselves and do not want to let go of control. Private self-awareness occurs when, in a challenging situation, we do not manage to react rationally and put on a mask of public self-awareness. Our ego and its manifestations appear automatically, immediately coming to the surface, and we show our true state of maturity. For example, we always try to be nice at work, but as soon as our problem happens, our ego wakes up, and we react violently and starts blaming others for our mistake. That's why we need to silence our ego and sharpen our private self-awareness, so that we don't have to act when our ego wakes up. First step in awareness and silencing the ego is to take full responsibility, which is also the greatest characteristic of a self-aware person. It is our decision by which we determine that we are responsible for absolutely everything in our life, whether it is our fault or not. It is our decision by which we refuse the right to apologies, and thus the decision to accept everything that life brings us. The only thing that matters is what we need to learn in a given situation. This is how we set the truth as our landmark and setting ourselves from personal perception of the ego. The truth is that no one except us can do anything good or bad to us. And the ego doesn't like responsibility and can't live in it. He always finds an excuse or a guilty for why something is wrong or doesn't work, or why reality is not good. And excuses and the guilty, if sought, are always found. And that's why the next time we complain, let's realize that we are listening to our ego. One of the most common ways of denying responsibility is shifting personal responsibility to collective responsibility. Blaming the social order, politicians, circumstances, religious communities, or anything and anyone who could serve as an excuse for one inaction. And strong and mature people take responsibility for themselves and even more, depending on their strength and maturity. Therefore, let's be the change we seek. Someone will demolish, we will create. Someone will blame, and we will take responsibility. We can evaluate our responsibility according to 4 levels by objectively looking at the level at which we currently live. The first level in responsibility is pure immature refusal, denying responsibility, and looking for the guilty in everyday private and business obligations. The inability, rather decision, to avoid the truth in everyday situations. The second level of taking responsibility is understanding that we are solely and exclusively responsible if we experience suffering, because no one else can be. As soon as we blame someone for our suffering by saying that they have hurt, angered, or disappointed us, we must understand that we, again, lack assuming responsibility. Because when we accept that only our ego is responsible for our suffering, every time we feel emotional distortion within us, automatically we will ask the question, what am I doing wrong? What ego challenge is controlling me now? What do I need to learn? We will not deal with the external event, but only with our reaction to that same event. When we reach the level of not having emotional reactions to events in our life, we can say that we have comprehended this level of taking responsibility. The third level is taking responsibility for everything that happens in our lives and how we live our lives. If, as adults or especially as children, we experienced unpleasant experience that affect the development of our ego, and we really do not bear any guilt for what happened to us, we still have the responsibility to solve the consequences. Even if we have experienced ugly things, It is up to us to stop focusing on the problem and to find a solution, whether it was our fault for the problem or not. In the end, it doesn't matter who is to blame anyway. The only thing that matters is who is responsible, because if we are not guilty, it does not mean we are not responsible. And if our ego convinces us that we are not responsible, no one else will be able to dissuade us from that idea that the ego will attach to. If a cheater tries to cheat us, it is not our fault, but we are still responsible. A cheater is doing his job, cheating. He has the right to live it, wrongly or not, and it is up to us to take responsibility and not let him do it. It's like getting angry at the snake because it bit us. The snake does its job again, it bites. It is up to us to take responsibility and not allow our ego to make excuses for why someone cheated us, imposed something on us, or led us down a path that did not turn out to be good for us. And the fourth and the final level at which unconsciousness will cause even the quietest ego is to take responsibility for reality. The real question at this level that love and responsibility will ask: what did I do to cause someone to want to cheat me or impose themselves on me? How did I end up in that situation? What are such people doing in my life, and what did I do to invite them? If they constantly trying to deceive us, it is possible that we have not yet overcome our own naivety. If there is a lot of negativities around us, perhaps we have not yet learned to say no and protect ourselves by inviting positivity into our own lives. These are the real questions with which we fully take responsibility and eliminate the complete truth. It is important to understand that for maturity, it's not enough to just let go and be in the moment. Maturity also means taking care of yourself and others, because although we are not more important than others, we are not less important than others. We have probably tried to help someone understand or overcome something in their lives. It probably didn't work for the simple reason that we cannot do neither good nor bad to anyone, like they can't do anything to us. One of the most painful truths is that we cannot help anyone if they are not ready for it, regardless of how close they are to us. We are all individuals and responsible only for ourselves and our maturation. There lies the next challenge of awareness, letting others take responsibility. As difficult as it is to take responsibility and face the fear that is the cause, it is just as difficult to let others take responsibility. That's why we always make excuse why we will help again. If we knew how to love them, we would let them take responsibility and mature, because that's the only way we really help them. It is the only right and true thing. Take responsibility for yourself and help others, but let them take responsibility for themselves and all the consequences that come with it, clarity or suffering. These are necessary steps to living in clarity. And if someone is not ready to take responsibility and lives a life of suffering because of it, we must understand that his path is not ours. Or maybe it is. Again, it is up to us what kind of reality we will create for ourselves. My name is Zorana Salopek, and in next episode we will discuss our self-awareness in more detail.